Hey, lit uppies. Happy Monday. I have been loving coming to you guys every Monday. This is super fun. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're doing an Ask Me Anything. So basically whatever your burning biz questions are, I'm going to answer as many as I can in the time that we have. I have to jump off at 5:45, but until then, we're good to go. I also had some from the group, so I have some to start with. And then I'm also going to share with you, what the top 3 strategies are that I'm recommending to my clients this month. So we're going to get to as much as we can in that time frame. And basically, feel free to pop them in the comments. Hey, Debbie, I have some that I'm going to start with from the group. First, I want to show y'all my shirt because I just love this shirt. I just feel like everyone needs to see it. So there's that. How good is that? We should all be feminists. True story. All right, so I'm going to start with some of the ones I have. Again, if you're here, feel free to pop some in for me. The first one is, how can I recover from a major slowdown in sales? If you guys have watched me before, you know my answer is always, it depends. Hey, Rita. Hey, Debbie. Yes to this tea. We should also know where this is from. Nordstrom's, Ashley. I love it. Okay, so what should you do to recover from a major slowdown in sales? It depends on the reason, right? So what I see more often than not is when people have a major slowdown, it's because they took their foot off the gas, right? Were you showing up? Were you being consistent? Were you promoting? So often it's so much more connected to is our energy behind the thing that we're selling or is it not, right? And that can be so hard to hear sometimes because we're like, oh my God, I just want to sell without having to have my energy behind it all the time. But here's what I would say. There's a difference between energy behind it and time. So what happens sometimes is when we take our energy out of it, we also take time out of it. And what I mean by that is nothing's just going to sell on autopilot. And I know everybody wants that to be true, but something or someone always has to be touching it for it to sell, right? So even if I'm selling passive income, my OBM might be curating posts for it. We might be running ads to it. There always has to be something happening in behind it. So if your sales have slowed down, something is not happening. You're not energetically behind it. You're not showing up consistently. You're not asking for the sale. So I would figure out what's the problem that caused that slowdown? Hey, Jody. Hey, Lorianne. Hey, Claire. What's the problem that caused that slowdown for you? And, how do you get real with yourself about the solution? I think so often we want it to be some magic bullet. And again, I have no idea. I don't know this person's specifics, but I think so often sometimes we want it to be some magic bullet. Just, pat your head and rub your belly. And I'm teasing. But the truth is it's usually as simple as are you out there talking about it, asking for it, and showing up, right? So if your sales slow down, that's the first place to look. Get real with yourself about that, because when you get real and empowered about that, it's so much easier to fix, right? When you're oh, it must be this crazy thing that I don't know, it's so much harder and it feels outside of yourself. And, it's just not that complicated usually. Are you showing up? Is it, is it have your energy and attention, right? Hey, Sarah. All right, cool. Let's see what the next one is. If y'all are on here and have questions, feel free to drop them. And then I'm going to keep going through the ones I already received. So here's the next one. I'd love to know your recommendation for getting discovery calls with a small fan base. I've been getting my business set up and now I'm moving into focusing on sales. I have 1,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. These 2 spaces are where I get the most engagement. I'd love your opinion on best practices for booking discovery calls and how to build more organic followers. Yeah, totally. So what I would say is, the truth is with 1,000 people that are engaged with you, you could easily be getting discovery calls, right? My first question would be, are you asking for them all the time and a lot? Which kind of goes back to that first question, right? Lorianne says, absolutely, you are your best salesperson, 100%, right? So, I think so often we're why aren't these people are following me and they're not booking sales calls? What's going on? Are you mentioning it? Are you asking for it? Several times, right? Like I think traditional marketing says we need something like 7 to 8 touch points, and like more updated marketing as far as like online says we need something like 17. Don't quote me on that, but something in that realm. And so the point is like, if you're not asking all the time, you're not going to be getting them. But with 1,000 people following you, you should absolutely be getting people that are interested in getting on the phone with you. So I would ask very often. And what I would do is get in the habit of asking, in the sense that it becomes like a thing that's always happening in your business instead of a thing you're deeply attached to. So I see that with people so often where they're like, okay, I'm going to go ask a bunch, and they'll go ask, or go put discovery call posts out for like a week or something. And then they get super discouraged right away, and then they stop. And like, again, we just need so many reminders and so many touch points. So my thing is like, can you just commit to selling in your business all the time? Like, can you just be posting about discovery calls 3 times a week? Because then you're like, it's just something you're doing. It's not something that you're using as like 24/7 feedback. And it's going to result in those calls because you're actually asking for what you want, right? So that would be my feedback, is just getting out there and asking more. And truthfully, if that's not working, I would say do free calls as well. Like if you have that audience of 1,000 people and like they are still getting to know your value, give them free calls, give them free service to help them see that value. I mean, obviously do it within reason, but the whole point here is that there's so much opportunity there, right? All right, beautiful. Let's see. Kelly says, I launched my new 6-month program last Wednesday. Congratulations, and got crickets the first few days. I've been encouraged to stay visible and keep showing up, but the truth is I fell into freeze mode over the weekend and haven't really done anything for the past 2 days. I'm feeling confused about how to pinpoint what's going on. I don't know whether to keep focusing on selling the one-on-one, to focus on other offers to still bring in the money, other ways, trying to challenge my group. Would love your insight. I launched my new 6-month program. Okay, so I'm assuming that that's like a one-on-one thing, Kelly, but feel free to correct me. But here's the thing. Last Wednesday is like nothing. And I know that can be frustrating to hear, but like seriously, that's nothing. Like, you said last Wednesday, and then by the weekend you were already like in freeze mode, and now you're already second guessing like what else you should be selling. And truthfully, like I'm so grateful to you for asking this question. And I don't want to pick on you, but I'm going to use you as a perfect example for people because it's going to be really useful, which is this is not real business. Like, and I'm not saying you're not running a real business, Kelly, you 100% are. What I'm saying is real business isn't like I put out an offer, I give it 3 days, and if it doesn't work, it means something. Like that is not it at all. That like 3 days in is just the beginning to test and tweak and find out more and learn more and grow and keep promoting and keep selling and keep promoting and keep selling. I'm going to go back to that point I just made about, something like 18 touch points. There's no possible way from a Wednesday to a Friday or Saturday or whatever that most of the people in your audience have even seen that offer. So to summarize, what we do to ourselves is we put this super high expectation, like it launched, and so everyone should be like going crazy. And the truth is, it's just not usually like that. I mean, even, at later stages in the game in your business, like everybody is like selling because it takes selling. Like if you're watching big launches of people, that you like and respect, they're selling all the time. So don't think that you should A, be getting those results, and B, not having to sell all the time. Like this is definitely not a place to feel like you have to pull back. This is a place to go all in. So, if you're saying run a challenge, whatever, like, yeah, do whatever it takes to get that offer visible because that's your win right now for sure. All right. Naomi says, we find it so hard to focus on our businesses when we're so focused on our clients' businesses. How do we break through the overwhelm of not only having time for our clients and not our business? We have so many ideas that we want to put out there, but it just never happens. Naomi, I would say 2 things. Like one is you just have to schedule the time. Like I've learned that so much over the last year is like, as much as like we can be resistant to schedules because we're like, I got this business to, have the freedom. But what happens when we don't get clear with our calendar and schedules is that we really don't have freedom. Like you don't have the freedom to work on your own business right now because it's not scheduled, right? If you put it on your schedule and treat it as important as like a phone call with a client, and you even did that, for 2 hours a week, like your entire business would look different, right? Because you'd have that time. And so I say this to my clients all the time, like, is content creation on your schedule? Is CEO time on your schedule? Because if it's not, there's no way it's going to happen. It's like I used to always be like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym today. It rarely happened. When it's on my calendar at 7:30 a.m. and I have an appointment, like I'm going, right? And so I think that the biggest thing is just like, you have to make it a non-negotiable that you have that time, and then you have to treat it as a non-negotiable, right? So when the time comes for that appointment to yourself, you keep it, right? Just like you would keep it for a client. And then as far as the so many ideas, I mean, I think that's sometimes why we don't keep the appointments, because we're just in idea overwhelm. So I would say, like, your job is to schedule the time and pick one thing to focus on and go all in on that thing. Hey, Claire, Maggie says, yes, I can every day, all day. I used to be that person, and now I invite to calls in my group all the time. 100%. Yeah. Hey, Arena. No problem, Kelly. Yes, appointments with yourself. Exactly. Nobody's going to keep that for you, right? But that's the part where running a business is tough, is you're your own boss, but you have to keep that appointment as though you would if it was with your boss, right? All right. Any other questions? Feel free to drop them in. Let's see. I have some others saved here. How do you manage the daily operations of your business? Wow, that's kind of a big question, but I totally get what you're saying. I would say day to day, my focus is really on this kind of stuff, like creation, visibility, as far as like what, it takes for me, and clients. So, day to day, like we're just at a point where we have processes down. So I have an OBM, and then I have a team under her of VAs that, do the things that need to happen. Like, does the content get out? Is the newsletter going out? After I do this live stream, they're probably going to pull it and save it and put it in an email. So I think that what I would say is, ideally, you know what your day-to-day looks like and what your priorities are. So my day-to-day priorities are always serving clients. Has that changed at different points in my business? Yeah, I mean, I have more clients now, so it's just more of a focus, right? But know your priorities and go all in on that. So like my focus is serving clients. And then after that, my focus is, like the creation of content, whether that's a video or the content we have written and put out. And, then my team knows their priorities around that too. So day to day for me really looks like being in my zone of genius more than I used to be, right? But again, that's for me, and it's taken, it'll be 3 years in August, I think. So it's taken a while to get here. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the big takeaway for that, no matter where you are in your business, is like, actually know what your priorities are and have them clear in your head. Because when you don't know, it's really hard to step into that, and it's hard to have good day-to-day operations. So like, if you have 17 competing priorities, like your day-to-day is going to feel chaotic all the time. If you know your priorities and can like really tackle them in the appropriate order, then it's easier. So I would say that's a good one. How do you keep the faith during a slow season in sales? I would say like, get out there and start doing stuff to feel good about it. I mean, I think it's like, this is why mindset, strategy, and execution goes so much together for me, because I think when we're in action, it changes our mindset. And when we make decisions, it changes our actions. So, your decisions always dictate your actions. And so have you decided that sales are going to pick up, and then are your actions reflecting that? Great. Well, as your actions reflect that, your mindset will start to catch up, and it'll be an evolving thing, right? How do you keep your content creation something you enjoy? I mean, I just care about what I'm talking about, right? So that's a huge piece of it. And then I cultivate inspiration. So, what doesn't get me inspired is just sitting in front of my computer. So I'm going to do something else before that. Like whether that's go for a walk or listen to a TED Talk or read a book or whatever. Like, I just try to remember that like I'm in charge of my inspiration, and that this is stuff I want to be doing. Like, the reality is like the fact that I get to talk about this stuff all day is a gift. And so when you can kind of frame it like that and then get inspired around it, it's so much easier. Cool. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. How many clients do you typically work with in a day, either one-on-one or in masterminds? Like I try to limit it to like no more than 5 calls per day. Like I definitely don't have 5 calls every day. But that's kind of like my cap. Like if I'm going more than 5 calls in a day, I'm probably kind of tired. So I would say it depends, but I would say that's like my max. Just like for space to breathe. And then also I spend a lot of time communicating with my clients in between calls. So it's not just like, a few calls and then it's done. It's like there's a lot of communication in between. So I really try to cap it at 5. Malia says, love this advice for day operations, scheduling appointments with self and prioritizing. Sometimes I get caught up on the details. For sure. I mean, I think it's like an evolving process and something to learn, but like the more you can kind of be a good boss to yourself and set good boundaries for yourself, the easier it is to get all this stuff done, right? How many different revenue streams do you have that flow revenue into your business? Probably 5 right now, 5 or 6. I think that whatever they say, 7's the holy grail or something, right? We're definitely not there yet. But here's the thing with that too, is like, I'm just always willing to be endlessly patient. Like, I think that when people make themselves crazy is when they like try to get to 7 right out of the gate kind of thing. It's taken 3 years to get here, and it's going to take more time to go past, to go to 6 and 7. And it's also why we're sustainable and why, we're creating revenue in all of those streams consistently. So I would say like there's an ideal there, but it's also like give yourself permission to work through it. Like for the first, couple of years of business, I probably had 2. So yeah, I mean, I think that the goal really for me is to add 1 a year. And if it feels good, right? So like there might be a year where I don't even add 1, but that's sort of like my thought process around it. What's your best tip for a new coach starting out and wanting to get visible? Victoria, what I would say is like, pick your thing and go all in on it. Like, is it writing content? Is it live streaming? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Like whatever your thing is that feels good to you, start doing that, because that's what will make you visible and consistent, right? If you hate live streams and that's what you decide to do, the likelihood that you're going to stick to doing live streams and really get yourself out there is slim. The whole win with visibility is first and foremost always consistency, right? So pick what you love, give yourself permission to start there, tune out the noise of like, you should be on this platform and you should do this and you should do this. Like, pick what you like and what you know you'll stay consistent with and can lean into, and that's going to make a huge difference in you actually getting visible because you're going to do it and show up for it and do it consistently. Hey, Kate Boyd. All right, let's see. Here's another one. I'd love to know what you do to make sure you have a good conversion rate on your website and landing pages and other touch points throughout your funnel. I mean, test and tweak, honestly. I think that like, we're all wanting that perfect formula for funnels, for pages, et cetera. And like, certainly there's some validity to that. And like, you can shortcut the process. Like, we can use lead pages that we know convert well. We can use pages that have done really well in the past. We can, take expert knowledge. But the thing is that for everyone and everyone's message and audience and people and funnels, it's all different, right? Kate Boyd, you can definitely speak to this, right? So you have to be willing to test and tweak. Like what I see people get so frustrated about is they try to set up like the perfect funnel from square one. And then they get so stuck in that detail that it takes them forever to set it up. And then they set it up and it doesn't convert how they want it to. And they're so frustrated, right? So for me, I'm just like always willing to kind of put it out there imperfectly and test and tweak along the way. Like, I mean, to this day, like I'm still surprised sometimes. I'm like, oh man, I thought that was like a killer subject line. And it's like not getting us good open rates. Okay, cool. We have to change it. So like start somewhere, for sure use best practices. Like we use lead pages, templates because they study those, right? Perfect. But don't feel like there's a get it right off the bat kind of thing. There's a get it right for your audience kind of thing. And the more you can just pay attention to what's going on in the funnel, like looking at all the touch points, like your clicks, your conversions, your open rates, all of that kind of stuff, the faster you're going to optimize for your audience instead of trying to do it perfect on the front end. You want to do it perfect for your people, right? Kay says, for sure, best practices, but no one size fits all. Yep, exactly. Keely says, for testing, how long do you recommend you stick to a strategy and test before tweaking? I would say at least 90 days is always what I say. Like, think that stuff, like, it's getting so crazy what people's expectations are of this online space. Like, they're literally thinking, you know, business results should show up in like 4 days of posting online. And I'm not like knocking anybody, because I think that's what a lot of marketing is telling us. But it's just so damaging and so unrealistic. Like 90 days is the blink of an eye in business. Like, you know what I mean? I just think that the more we can be willing to let things play out, the better. And what I see too often is somebody gets frustrated after 2 weeks or something. And so then what happens is they actually extend their timeline by a ton because they try different things every 2 weeks for 90 days. So the time's going to pass either way. But if you can like really give yourself a solid amount of time to go all in on something, like you will see results. If you expect to see them way faster than that, you're going to be endlessly frustrated and you're going to extend your timeline. Do you think Facebook ads are a good way to increase email lists and sign up clients? I mean, I think they're a tool like anything else. I think there are a lot of ways to increase email lists and sign up clients. I think ads are a tool for that. I would say I wouldn't be putting money toward ads unless you know you have a funnel and a process that's working for that. So I would test it organically first. But I mean, there's certainly a tool. It's cases, it's never ending process. And as your biz audience evolves, so must the process. Amen. Long-term focus always wins. So true. So let's see, what other ones do we have here? How do you plan your posts and share in other Facebook groups? How do I plan my posts and share in other Facebook groups? I mean, just over time, like I've developed a system with my team. So I write content in advance. We put it together. My team puts it out into other groups. I personally still post in my group every day because I just enjoy it and I like having my energy behind it, but that's personal preference. I would say like my advice at the beginning is keep it easy. Like if you need a content plan, I would really recommend downloading my content planning party. I think it's super useful because what it helps you figure out is how do I create content and then put it places instead of like, how do I create different content for different platforms? So I'm never creating like platform or group specific content. I'm always just creating like core pieces of content. And then our job is to filter that out. So I hope that makes sense. But the planning in advance is huge related to that. So I would definitely check out the content planning party. I think it's just a Lit Up Life /content planning party, I think. Otherwise, you can just go to my website and look at the DIY section. But I think that would be pretty useful. All right. How do you convince and convert clients in your proposal? What are the elements that make up a good proposal? I'm not quite sure what you mean by proposal. If you're like sending like a written proposal, let's just go broad. Whether you're doing a written proposal or having a call or whatever, I think there's one win here that makes it really good, which is personalization. Like I cannot say that enough. Like whether it's a sales call or proposal or whatever, follow-up email, the more you can personalize to that person, the more you're going to win. People want to feel seen, heard, and understood. They want to hire service providers that get them. They want to hire service providers that understand them. They want to hire service providers that they felt like listened to them. Like, so no matter how fancy you get with the results, if you're not personalizing those to them and saying, I heard that you want this and this is what we're going to do for you, you're always going to be missing out, right? Like when people want to hire you, they really want to know that you get them. Like, I think really above anything else, truthfully. Like, sure, they want to know that you can get your clients results, but they want to know that you can get them a result. And that is the key, right? So sometimes we can go on and on, like my program has this and it's amazing and it has this feature and this feature and this feature, right? And it's like, cool, but like, how do those apply to me? Because everybody's got features now, right? And what everybody doesn't have is your energy and attention. And I think that's so huge. Like giving another human being your energy, focus, attention, and personalization is just such a gift, especially in our online space and how noisy it can be. So I think that's always your win. Kate says, yes, personalization is becoming even more important as time goes by. It's the relationship aspect of business, which is never going away. 1,000%. Business always has been and always will be about relationships, right? That's it. And so personalization speaks to that. Like you want a relationship with somebody that gets you, and you want to hire people that get it. All right. What is the best way to make your website a funnel for business? Well, again, I would say it kind of depends on what you mean, like, and where it falls in your funnel. So the way I use my website is like I'm building relationships elsewhere, and then I'm sending people there once they kind of know me, if that makes sense. So certainly it's a way to get to know me better, but like we're not sending cold traffic to my website. We're not, spending a ton on SEO to get cold traffic there. Because very much like Kate just said, and like we were just talking about, most service provider businesses are really built on those relationships, right? So we're using the website as like a tool, but relationship building is first. And then on the website, we try to have other ways to relationship build. So like we have videos that we upload there, have blogs that we keep there. And, I think it just depends on where it falls in your funnel, but we're always focused on the relationship build, right? So that's a really important piece of it. It would really depend on what you're focused on for it, but I think that the other win as far as like using the website is like knowing what you want them to do with it. So like when they get to your website, like what do you want them to do the most? And can you focus on that? I think sometimes we're not clear on that, so they're not clear on that. So that would be just like another broad piece of feedback I would give. Like if you're clear, they're going to be clear. If you're not clear, the likelihood that your people are going to know how to use the site and be clear is slim. All right. How do you do your social media? Do you do schedulers, plan it? Which channels? What strategies? I think that what I would say to that is I think that we can make things so complicated. Like I think it can be like, oh my God, I need to know all these 17 steps, like what scheduler, what channels, what this, what that. And what I would say is like, sure, it kind of matters, but like truthfully, whether you're using like Hootsuite or Buffer or Meet Edgar, it doesn't really matter. I would just say pick one and roll with it. For me personally, we don't use schedulers. I really like posting organic content. That's a personal preference. We sometimes will use the scheduler within the group if we want things to go out at a certain time, or we'll use like the scheduler on the page if we want things to go out at a certain time. But otherwise, like I just post my content every morning. I like it. I like being in it. It's a personal preference. As far as the creation of it, obviously I've been creating content for a really long time now, so we have a ton built up. And have a plan for how it goes out every week. But, I think that people probably think it's so much more complicated than it is. Like we post in my group and a few other groups on my business page and on Instagram, and reliably, it's just the same stuff I'm writing for all those places, just kind of switched around, right? And so what I mean by that is like, create content, figure out your platform, and then figure out what you need to do to get it posted. In other words, like, I think sometimes we go backwards. Like we're like, okay, so I want to post on my business page and this and this and this and this. So what content do I need to create for all of that? Don't do that. Like start by just creating like 5 core content posts a week, and then figure out how to get them, in the right places for your people. And usually that's pretty easy. Like I said, like I still just post in my group every morning. Like it's just a thing that I like to do. And truthfully, like if you're using it as a huge funnel for clients in your business, it's a very worthwhile endeavor. Can you use a scheduler? Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mean to make it a thing. It's just the point of like simplify, right? Like cases simple is better because you're more likely to do it. So I think people just try to start off crazy complicated. And like, one of the things I would say is like, just pick one platform and go all in on it. Like, don't even feel like you have to be, on Instagram and Facebook and this and that. Like, totally keep it light and easy at first, because the only way you're going to get better is to have that strong foundation. All right, Lindsay says, how much of your business do you personally know, and how much of your business have you outsourced the outcome to your team where you don't know the nitty-gritty details? How much of your business do you personally know? I mean, I would say I personally know all of my business. Like there's not stuff that's outsourced that I don't understand or don't know about, or don't know how it's working. Frankly, my business and most people's businesses in this space just aren't that big yet where I shouldn't know the nitty-gritty details. Do I know them every day? Like, is somebody going, hey, just so you know, I did this today? No, but like, I definitely know how everything works, and what outcomes we're getting, because it's my job too. And because it helps it all work together, right? Like, so we're not all operating in silos, right? We're like all operating toward one goal. And so the more I know about it, the better. I mean, like the day-to-day SOPs. Yeah, I mean, I know how they're getting done. Like, I know what people are doing to get things done in my business. I feel like that's my job right now, right? I need to have a team, but I need to know how they're getting shit done. And if I have a question about that, I think that speaks to an area of my business that I haven't been paying great attention to. I mean, like, I know how our newsletters go out. I know how we're posting content. I know how things are showing up. I know our process for getting things done, getting posts out, getting challenges built, whatever. And again, totally my job to know all that. All right, let's see. What social media strategies do you recommend for introverts and private people? I mean, I'm an introvert too, so I get that. I would just say, like, figure out where you feel the most comfortable. Like, I love being in this group, and I love that, I can have the right people in here, and that it's kind of like my community, my choice. So I would say if you're feeling shy about like posting everywhere publicly, a group is a really, really good place to start, because you can kind of curate it and kind of know your people are in there. But I think also it's just like, it gets easier over time. Like, I used to be a lot more private personally on social media. Now I just kind of don't care at all. So I think that can evolve. So you may feel like you feel really personal right now, and I get that because I've been there, but the more you can just start somewhere, like if it's a group or whatever, the easier it will become. Kelly says, I took your 90-day suggestion from the masterclass you did in IMP, and it's been a game changer. Awesome. Today I'm in day 56 of going live for 90 days. Heck yeah. Showing up way more authentically and feel like I'm connecting with people on a much deeper level, and they're so much fun. Haven't been doing them at the exact same time each day though, and I'm wondering how important you think it is. I basically just hop on whenever. Kelly, I think that like, you don't have to do it at the same time each day, but if you could give people a heads up that really like to catch you, that might be useful. Like, so say they know they like love your live streams, and then, 2 days in advance, you're saying to them, on Wednesday, I'm going to be on at 5. Well, they're way more likely to like make the time for that and be on the lookout for that. So I think you don't have to pick a specific time, like where you're like attached to it has to be noon every single day. But I think the more you can give people a heads up, the better, because then just like we're talking about scheduling things that are important to you, right? They can make time to schedule that, versus like when you just hop on, like, they're less likely to be able to make that work. And so if you can make it a little bit easier for them, I think that's usually worth it. Cool. So if anybody has any other questions, let me know. I want to make sure I get to the top 3 strategies that I'm recommending this month before I have to jump off. So let's do that. What I think is so funny and so perfect is that, of course, some of this has already kind of been answered. We've already talked about some of these things. So, that kind of fits in perfectly. So I won't elaborate on everything too much, but we will definitely go into the 3 strategies I'm recommending for them this month. Let me answer Mira's question here first. Your posts are always so helpful and so relevant. Thank you. I found that it's hard to have enough time to produce such well thought out posts on the daily. Can you tell me how you put out such high value content consistently in terms of when you feel dry in terms of content? What do you do? I mean, I don't post daily at all. That feels really stressful for me personally. So I sit down one day a week and create content. If I'm not feeling it, we'll repurpose content. So a lot of times it's like I have a container then, like if we're repurposing something, I'm maybe just tweaking it and adding things to it. And so that usually helps me feel more inspired because I have like a thing I'm working on, like a container. But like what I would say is just setting aside the time and then really cultivating your inspiration. It's sort of like how I was saying earlier, like I never get inspired at the computer. Well, so what does inspire you, right? Is it listening to something? Is it taking a walk? Is it spending time outside? Like what is the thing that usually gets you motivated? If you can do that and then sit down and write your content for the whole week, like you're going to just be on fire in the sense that like you're going to get it all done. It's going to flow. It's going to make sense together. You're going to be focused and you're going to have cultivated that inspiration. So that's always my tip. Like I find it very challenging to create off the cuff on the daily. Some people like that and that's totally cool, but I definitely can't operate like that. Tina says, I would love to get out of my comfort zone and do lives, but what the heck do I talk about is my issue? I mean, Tina, I think like if you, I don't know your business, right? But if you have a service-based business and there's something you're working with people on, like that's what you talk about. Like, what do you talk to your clients about? What do you want to help people with? Like, talk about what's fun for you to talk about, truthfully. I mean, I think that sometimes we get so, like there is a right way to do it and I need to know how to do it. But what I find to be true is the more I just talk about what I want to talk about, the more people like it because I'm bringing the energy and knowledge and excitement and whatever, because it's like what I want to be saying. Do I make it applicable to the people I want to serve? 100%. But like baseline is, do I want to talk about this thing? If I don't want to jump on live around it. So I would just say that's probably a good question to start with is like, there's not a right way to do it. It's just like you're going to be the most likely to get on and have fun with it and show your energy and show your excitement when it's something you care to talk about. If you're building your own business, it probably is something that you're super passionate about. So like tap into that without feeling like there's like this right way to do it. All right. So the top 3 strategies that I'm talking about this month. One is sell more than you're selling. And here's what I mean by that. Almost nobody is selling enough. And I don't mean enough product. I mean, nobody is practically selling their shit enough. Like, are you talking about your stuff all the time? Are you making it easy for people to buy from you? Are you telling them over and over again that they can buy from you? Are you telling them how they can buy from you? Like, again, we kind of talked about this earlier with the touch points thing, but like very seriously, if you're not getting the sales you want, the likelihood is that you're not selling enough. And I'm not saying it's the only problem in your business. I'm just saying that like, if all of you on here went this week and doubled the amount of times you're talking about talking about the thing you have to sell and selling it, you did it twice as much as you've been doing it, you're going to see different momentum. If you go look at a lot of the coaches you look up to, you're going to see that they're always selling something, right? And so it could be casual, right? Like I mentioned the content planning party a few times. I don't even know if I got the site right, the link right. But the point is like, I'm never going to hesitate to be like, oh yeah, you can buy this thing from me and it's going to help you and here's how, right? And if we all did that way more than we're doing it, we're going to see way more results. It's really just that simple. So one of the things is just like sell more than you're already selling. Like if you can just go double the amount you're selling in the next 2 weeks, you will double the amount you're selling. It's quite easy. And I think we get so scared because we think it means something that we have to sell a lot, or it means something's wrong with our business, or we're not attracting people or whatever, but it's just really normal. So sell more than you're selling. Kate says, just realized this today. I slipped into a pattern of not selling for a bit and it makes a big difference. Yeah, 100%. Like, listen, I'm not saying I'm writing a sales post every day. Like we're definitely recycling stuff. I'm mentioning it when I can. We're putting out, emails and old content I've written about sales and stuff like that. I don't mean you have to be like practically doing it daily, but it's like Kate said, even when you get out of a pattern, it's just, you're going to see a result from that, right? So sell more than you're selling. Number 2 is surprise and delight your current clients. Like, I just think in the online space, we're simply not doing enough of that. I think we can be so focused, even when we're super service-based, we can be so focused on like the next client and the next client and the next client that we forget that our current clients are the best way to keep getting business. Not only in the sense that they could re-sign up with you, but in the sense that they will recommend other people to you. So I think one super smart strategy always that a lot of people aren't doing is just find a way to surprise and delight the absolute shit out of your current clients. Like, can you send them a gift out of the blue? Can you go above and beyond? Can you show up for them in a way that totally over delivers? You know, whatever that thing is. But that is the kind of stuff that builds sustainability in a business, because it gets you sustainable clients and referrals. And so people are working for you even when you're not marketing. So that's a huge one. And then the third one is go all in on one platform. And what I mean by that is I think that so often, especially when we're newer, can be so tempting to be like, well, I need to figure out this about Instagram and this about Facebook and this about Pinterest. And I get the mentality there, which is like, everybody's like, what if Facebook shut down tomorrow or whatever? Like, cool, then give me 90 days and I'll figure out Pinterest or whatever. And listen, over time, of course, I'm on more now than just one, but if you can get really effing good at a platform, your business is going to grow so much faster, and then you have the resources to get good at other platforms. So if you are all in on Instagram, be posting your content there like crazy, figure out stories, figure out engagement, like go in on that platform and make it amazing. And again, that's what resources you to move to other platforms, is because you're getting results, and then you can have other support and team members and help and repurposing for other places. But know one platform and do it really, really, really well, right? If it's Facebook, figure out your groups, figure out your page. Like, how can you really make a platform work for you? Again, and resource yourself enough to then go all in on the others instead of doing a so-so job at all of them. So those are my top 3. Sell more than you're selling, surprise and delight your current clients, go all in on one platform. Are there a million others that make a ton of sense? Yes, I would also add mindset's a piece of that, but those are the ones I've been thinking about the most lately that I think make such a difference in getting results. So I hope this was helpful to y'all. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you're watching the replay, feel free to ask some Q's and I will pop back in and answer them. But thank you guys so much for joining me and for all your amazing questions. And I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye.